Welcome to an extreme version of the Unsanctioned Podcast. I'm Luis Vasquez.
It's your boy Jay Holland.
And I'm Julio Jeune.
No, it's not.
It sure is live in the flesh.
The eagle has arrived. Did you upgrade from a pigeon?
Like an eagle.
Live in the flesh. And you know what? I was actually sitting here for 10 minutes before these two walked in. So not only was I here on time, I was here early.
Julio hit the booth first.
Yes.
About a minute ahead of me. I don't know about 10, but...
It felt like 10.
No.
In my time, it felt like 10.
I caught him walking up the stairs, you know. I had to glance over. I was like, that.
You just had to go back and get some water at the fridge.
Yeah, I was like, that's not him. But it was him.
All right, Jay, who do we have today? As people saw in the headline.
No, not DMX. We got Pitbull #1 himself, Mr. Gary Wolfe. Mr. Gary Wolfe, man, of the Pitbulls. Former ECW television champion. ECW tag team champion.
Preach.
And as always on the Unsanctioned Podcast, everything is on the table.
You already know, man. It's the Unsanctioned Podcast, man. We're now signing on to your airwaves. Let's get it.
Gotta bring the city back. Let me know we still here. Never gonna stop. Keep rolling like a wheelchair. Can't be shook. You know the wolf smell fear. Throw him in the trunk. Turn your man to a straight stare. No tire, just money so fire. Can't stack your paper thin like flies. A survivor, no acorn and Jesus. You make it so hard, but I do it so easy. A little breeze.
I could let that ride forever.
You got it. You already know, man. Like I said, man, y'all can find that amongst others, you know what I mean? Shout out to Impala. Check them out on iTunes. Everywhere, you know what I mean? That Piff mixtapes, man. That's my Hustle Squad brethren. Shout out to all my Hustle Squad brothers. You already know how we do, man. You gotta let that hook bump real quick. This, all my... Show me where you at. Oh,
Unsanctioned Podcast.
that's where we at. We at Unsanctioned Podcast. That's where we at right now.
That's my favorite faction, the Unsanctioned Podcast.
Oh,
I'm biased.
unbiased. You biased or unbiased?
Julio.
I think we're all biased.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Well, we'll have merch pretty soon, maybe in the next few months. We've got some prototypes that have come back looking good.
Yes.
You know what? No unicorn horns will be a part of
No
that
unicorn
march.
horns.
Oh, no.
Yep.
It's real. It's real. Oh, yes, it's true. It's damn true. But you already know, man. We want to, before we start off this episode, man, with a very special guest, you know, we already told you guys, I want to give a huge shout out to, honestly, I want to say our most avid supporter.
One fan.
Yeah, Pedro Merced, man. Like, when I tell you Pedro Merced is inboxing, Unsanctioned, he's giving his thoughts and opinions and feedback on, you know what I mean, just the episodes and who he would like to hear from. And hell, sometimes he even talks to some of the wrestlers like, I think you would be great for the Unsanctioned Podcast.
Respect.
Shouts out to Pedro. Thank you
Pedro.
so much, Pedro.
You know what I mean, and definitely, like I said, who knows? You know what I mean, we keep it up. We might be able to bring him in for an episode. We'll see, man. But that just shows, you know, to all of our, you know, man, our fan base, man, and our listeners, man, anything's possible. We love and support you guys just like you love and support us. And, you know, we love to give back and show props. And we don't want to just take you guys' thunder because we realize it's hard, man. We have people stealing our thunder. Just off of one episode, man.
Old wounds.
broke
Too
that
soon.
down, yeah.
Too soon.
Pump that, man.
Too soon.
Yeah. Drop us a line. Shoot us a note. Unsanctionedpodcast@gmail.com.
You get shouted out just like Pedro. Thanks again, Pedro.
Thank you, Pedro.
Oh, where we at, too? Facebook. We're on Facebook now.
That's right.
Oh,
Facebook, newly minted.
Facebook
Brand new.
page, Unsanctioned.
Unsanctioned Podcast is on Facebook. We
Yep,
are Facebook
you-
official. We are officially
With that
your
ad
friend.
handle is the same as Twitter,
wow,
at
I guess.
UnsanctionedPW.
That's right.
Wow, we're Facebook official.
We're Facebook official.
Now it's
Jeez,
real. That's real now.
Now it's real.
We
I
might
guess.
revive MySpace just to put it up in someone's top 10. You know what I mean?
True. True. That's right.
Migente.com, you're not saving either. Black Planet, we're coming for you.
And as always, want to shout out and say thank you, FightBoothPW.com.
Fight booth.
Thank you, Fight Booth.
Fight
PW.
Booth.
Appreciate it. Home of the Unsanctioned Podcast. So let's not waste any more time. Jay, I'm going to let you do the honors on this one. I know you were pretty excited about it.
You gonna let me do this one finally?
I'm going to let you do this one. This is all
Jeez,
you.
man. Might have to get a lockjaw on
I
this
think
one. No pun intended.
Julio's UPS Eagle switch was something that got me in a very good mood. So I'm in a very giving spirit.
But I don't think people know who we really have today. We have a former ECW television champion.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A real Pitbull in the ring. No pun intended. Well, maybe a pun intended.
Pun was definitely intended.
The pun was intended?
It was. It's okay.
Now, without further ado, we definitely want to welcome in Pitbull #1 himself, Mr. Gary Wolfe, to the Unsanctioned Podcast. How you doing, Mr. Wolfe?
Oh, man, it's nice to be here, man. Nice to see you guys. What's up?
Ready to get extreme, man. No pun intended, like Jay says.
Yeah, that was pretty blatant, though.
and corny. It's all good. But, man, we're excited to have you, man.
Said no.
Oh, Jay, you forgot that, I was only, tag team champions also.
Oh no, we wanted to get into that. We wanted to get into that. We got to save some. We don't want to take all your thunder. I definitely know. I also don't want to drop how Pitbull #2 was also ECW television champion too, man. Like we're gonna get into all that.
Pitbull #1 has Jay backpedaling. Look at that. You still have an effect here outside of the ring.
Look,
I love
it. Look, Pitbull #1 stocky, and till this day you could tell he's still in wrestling form. So. I'm definitely not trying to be caught in any suplexes, none of that.
No, so Gary, a.k.a. Pitbull 1, what are you up to these days? Take us a little bit through what life looks like now for you.
Relaxing in Florida, which I always wanted to do. Getting ready to start working again. I was working probably until 2014. I stopped for a little while. Had a little knee problem, but no big deal, just a scope job. But I'm still doing seminars, autograph signings, from top to bottom. I still stay busy. When
we spoke a little earlier, man, you had mentioned to me, and definitely want to give a shout out to Dylan and the Good Doctor Booking Agency. You told me you guys had something special that you were working on for 2018, and wanted to just elaborate more on that if you care to share with us.
I can't give you too much information, but it's going to be a great year, 2018. We're going to end up getting all the ECW originals, who did the company, plus the younger guys that were involved also at the time. And I think we're going to end up doing a 2018 World Tour.
World.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Ooh.
Now, is there anyone you're excited to work with out of the newer generation of the ECW guys that you didn't get to work with in the past?
I'm going to have some. Dude, they already want me to work New Jack, man. That's going to be awesome.
Oh, man.
And I can't wait to work him again. I mean, we had some good times, Jack's the man.
Now, was it, I just want to understand, like, a match with New Jack, like, you had the music going the whole time, which is probably different from definitely is different from any other wrestling match. Tell me how that, like, works into you guys' communication with in-ring style, and I understand that you said you enjoy it, but like, how's he different from everyone else?
Well, a lot of people don't know, but New Jack could wrestle his fucking ass off, but you don't see that. The character New Jack that he uses, which is himself, like me, lived the gimmick. He likes to just hit people and fuck you up. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I was in the ring with him, and I was in North Carolina when he was in Memphis, and probably Portland before that. Who knows? But when the gangsters came to Philly, they had to go through one team, and that was every team that came to Philadelphia had to go through one team, and that was the Pitbulls. Once we were done, once our gimmick was done, our run with the late and great Public Enemy, Ted Petty and Johnny Grunge. They're I love them guys, man. They won Tag Team of the Year in 1995, I think it was, maybe, or 94. And that year that they won that, we were with them 12 months out of that year. So imagine what kind of matches we had. But once, they moved on, and, we were the Paul Heyman, like, take care of business guys. Like, take care of this, call the Pitbulls. We take care of it. You got to understand, there's two of us, and the two of us together, it's hard, man. You better have 5-6 people, man.
Earlier, you mentioned a couple of guys, a couple ECW originals, New Jack and the Public Enemy. You being one of the original ECW superstars, take us back to what the climate was back in those days, before ECW became the mainstream phenomenon it eventually became, when it was the underground kind of groundswell phenomenon that fans loved, that had that niche market. Take us back to those days.
Well, I'll take you back to TriState Wrestling Alliance.
Wow.
That was the beginning. That's what it started. Now, back then, I mean, we're going back to the late 80s, early 90s. The Pitbulls already had a job with Vince McMahon. It was there on the table. We decided to go to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So what we did was we would do our tours in New Japan, and we would work for independents. And Dennis Carluzzo was one big one. Doc Diamond was one big one. I mean, there was a ton of them around, especially in the New York area, New Jersey area. But the biggest one that meant something, that had some good minds behind it, like Joel Gertner and Todd Gordon, was TriState Wrestling Alliance. So we stayed with them, and we stayed loyal with them. Come to find out, that became Eastern Championship Wrestling, which then turned into Extreme Championship Wrestling. I mean, we're talking about Tony Stetson, Johnny Hotbody. There's so many guys I can't even mention. You know, Tommy Cairo, J.T. Smith. I mean, Stevie wasn't even a wrestler yet then. Stevie Richards.
He was your manager for a while. I remember that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? People don't get that. You know, they don't realize, you know, we were in the locker room with Terry Funk and Stan Hansen and Ric Flair and Abdul the Butcher, okay? When these guys were not even... I came out of a TW, a Tri-State Wrestling Alliance ring one night. It was at a college in Philadelphia, right on Broad Street. Nice house, 7,000-8,000 easy. Nature Boy versus Nature Boy was the main event, which was Ric Flair versus Buddy Rogers, or Buddy Rose it was. Buddy Landell, I'm sorry, Buddy Landell. And Abdul the Butcher was part of that main event. So that place was sold out. And I remember coming out of that ring, because we did this huge battle royal, me and my partner were in, and I saw Sandman in the audience. And he walked up to me and said, "Man, I want to do that, man. How can I learn how to do that?" And I told him, I said, "Go to Joel Gerhardt's school. You know, it's Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, and check it out." And that's what he did. And after coming home from a tour from Japan, I put the TV on, and I see Sandman wrestling on ECW.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned the Sandman, because you guys, if I'm not mistaken, actually had a run with the tag team titles in NWA. So tell me about that dynamic and how that go about, and how you felt about just actually seeing him from just being a guy in the crowd to actually, you know, a tag team partner and eventual tag team champion with you.
I was happy. I'll be honest with you. I mean, we held the NWA titles for a long time, the Pitbulls, and I was actually glad, you know, that Hack. You know, most people don't listen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind if you ask me something. I'm not going to be a jerk off. I'm going to tell you to your face. I'll be honest with you. You know what I mean? I looked at him. He used to play rugby. He's a tough guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who you are. If you could play rugby, you're tough. So I said, you know, try it out. See if you could do it. And he did. And I'm happy to say, recently I've done matches with Sandman and his son, Tyler, who was in ECW as a baby. If you remember that angle.
I remember that angle with
I'm
Raven.
in the ring with him now. The kid's 6'4". I mean, I'm looking up like, okay, you know, me and Hack are looking at each other, Sandman, saying, "All right, kid, go ahead, work." You know what I mean? Because we're, you know, it's like we're passing the torch now to him, you know. So it's actually cool. Hack's I call him Hack. Everybody else calls him Sandman, but he's good. He's good people. I'm tight with him. I've known him a very long time.
You mentioned something you touched on a second ago that I don't think a lot of people know, is that you and your partner, as the Pitbulls, were offered a contract by Vince McMahon back in the late 80s, early 90s, I believe. Do you guys ever think about, you know, what your style would have been like mixed in with the what would have been the WWF at that time? You know, you guys had more of a hardcore style, and the WWF had more of a, I do want to say actually a style that played more to kids. Do you guys think you ever would have mixed in to that dynamic well?
I think we would have. I mean, they had a great idea. I'm not going to lie. It was awesome, you know. I'm talking helicopters, and they had it set up for WrestleMania, and we were going in against the Hart Foundation. But our style, which they liked, was, you know, we were kind of like the British Bulldogs, but a little bit more extreme, because we were going to Japan with Dynamite Kid and Owen Hart and, you know, all these guys, Jericho, Lance Storm, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero. That was our clique. Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader, the Samoans, the Killer Bees. That was the guy. That's who we hung with. So our generation, the Pitbulls. I mean, people always say, especially the older guys, we were 20 years or 10 years too late. We should have came in 10 years earlier, or you know what I mean, something like that. They always say that because we were before our time. You know, because it was still the 80 guys in there back in the day. Cowboy Bob Orton, Ricky Steamboat Flair, you know, the fucking Demolition, the British Bulldogs, Hakeem and the Boss Man. I mean, the Rougeau brothers. See, we got to work with all them guys. I mean, I worked with the Guerrero brothers in front of 55,000 people in New Zealand, Australia. In New Zealand, you know what I mean? So I wrestled Eddie's dad and Rey Mysterio's dad. You see, that's the experience that we got. I mean, Bob Orton, Cowboy Bob Orton was cool as he loved us, man. He fucking loved the gimmick. He would always ask Larry, you know, how those guys doing, you know? But they were going to throw the belts on us. So that's how I know what they were going. We were going to be, before Demolition, put it that way. You know, because we were asked to go there before the Nasty Boys did. Honestly, I think we said no because we signed with New Japan. I think the Nasty Boys went because they were still in North Carolina with us.
Do you think by saying no you burned any bridges, or was everything amendable?
No, I mean, I think back and I say we should have. I mean, we've been asked more than once. I think we should have took one of the deals because they all were awesome gimmicks they were going to give us, because that could have helped our legacy. You know what I mean?
Right.
We would have been inducted in the Hall of Fame, and there's no doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, circumstances happen. They were my decisions. You know, maybe I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Right.
You're talking 300 and something days a year on the road. I saw them guys at a young age. In 1989, I was in the back of the WWE locker room, okay, with the greats, Miss Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, you know what I mean? Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, the Brainbusters. I mean, these are, you know, Ted DiBiase. I was with Hulk Hogan. At 18, I met Hulk Hogan one night. We were in Niagara Falls, and I was there. We were there because we needed to get ring experience. So I went to the Monster Factory, which is, I can't say anything else about it. You know, the talent that came out of that school, okay? So we're there because Larry Sharp sent us up there to get experience. I meet Hulk Hogan. I'm like, pleasure to meet you, sir. You know, nice to meet you. My name's so-and-so. I go to the Monster Factory. I was sent up here to help you guys and for me to learn from you guys. He's like, come with me, okay? Took me on his fucking bus, man, and showed me his whole hookup. He didn't have to do that. He could have been like, hey, kid, how you doing? Later, goodbye. You know what I mean? But he's like, well, you look like, are you one of the Pitbulls? But we didn't use the name in ECW. We used our real names. Yep. And I said, yeah, I'm one of the Pitbulls. He goes, just come with me. He showed me his thing, man. He had a gym, a tanning bed in his bus. He was the only guy that had a bus back then, the only wrestler. And like I said, them guys are a different breed compared to what the guys are now. You know what I mean?
Now, I know Ric Flair.
Nowadays, you walk in a locker room, dude, everybody's looking at you, and they're fucking saying to themselves, okay, whose spot is he taking?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. Even if it's someone respected, right? Like a veteran coming back, making a return.
It's a dog-eat-dog world, man.
Absolutely. Hey, that's business. I wanted to ask you about Ric Flair. He's obviously been in the news lately, and our hearts go out to him for a speedy recovery, and looks like he's already hitting some events here and there, which is great. You got to interact with a lot of these guys, as you mentioned, in the early days. What was someone like him like? What was Ric Flair like behind the scenes? Was he the person we saw on television?
Absolutely, man.
I thought so. That's what I was hoping you'd answer.
Okay, and listen, let me tell you, every day, me and my partner, we were in the stud stable in North Carolina, working for South Atlantic Pro Wrestling, and that's when NWA was around. So we were always going to see Magnum T.I. and all them guys, you know, and trying to get into them, you know. So we would meet Flair and see Flair in the gym every fucking morning, and he'd be on a Stairmaster doing the highest possible level for 1 fucking hour, besides lifting weights. Okay? And we were young, so we would do 45 minutes workout, and we were working out with Tatanka, who was called Chris Chavis at that time, and Shamrock, who was called Vince Torelli at that time. So we would all go work out in the gym, and then we would go back to the hotel or our condo, wherever we stayed, and bring Robert Fuller his Bush beer, you know what I'm saying, and the Nasty Boys and Matt Bourne, and we would do our work, and then we would end up coming back to Charlotte and go out to clubs, because we would be back by 11 o'clock at night, maybe 11:30, and we would see all the NWA guys, especially the Midnight Express, you know, all them guys, especially if they were in that area that particular weekend. So we would run into Flair all the time, brother. And he loved me and my partner Anthony, man. He loved us, man, because we love him. He's a great guy. I'm talking, I met him when he had the mansion in Charlotte, okay, when he was living there. And, I mean, his kids were babies. If they even, I mean, I remember a couple kids running around, but they were babies. But he lived the gimmick, man. And I remember he used to say to us, always be styling and profiling. I always remembered that because I remember I met him at WCW in Atlantic City. I forget the year because they called us up and wanted us to come in and work a little bit. And we pulled up in our Range Rover, brother. He stopped, looked at us and said, "You motherfucking Pitbulls." That's how they talk, the old guys. You never fucking change. I love it. So let me tell you a story about Flair. I'll give you one. Anytime we would meet him at a club, he'd be partying his ass off, buying everybody drinks. Next thing you know, Rick disappears. What does he do? He goes outside, opens up his trunk, takes all his clothes off, puts one of them fucking $25,000, $50,000 robe on, walks in the club, butt-ass naked, doing the gimmick. Woo! Walking, fucking buying everybody drinks. If a girl liked him, he'd flash her. Dude, it was fucking awesome, man.
Wow.
That's when wrestlers were real wrestlers. Okay, nowadays, these kids get in the ring, they do what they got to do, they go back to the hotel, and they play fucking video games.
So Ric Flair was a rock star.
Down.
This dude was a rock star. Did he get a big pop in the bar when he did that?
Absolutely, man. Every place.
Now,
Every place happened, he got popped.
Nice.
Oh man! So we definitely wanted to touch base. I mean, because I know we jumped right into it, but for those who've been living under a rock, just tell people how you and your partner, Anthony, Pitbull #2, for those who are listening. Just tell them how you guys first came together. I understand you guys had the the same trainer, under Larry Sharp, and so I just want to know, just take me through you guys' journey of actually deciding you guys want to be a tag team and moving forward from there.
I'll be honest with you. We went to school together, man. We were in the same grade and same town, small town, Hamilton, New Jersey. And it's between Philadelphia and Atlantic City, about a half hour either way. And we were I had a business on the boardwalk in Wildwood at the time. We were young. This has got to be 87, 88. Probably, maybe 87, 88. Because I graduated in 85. So I had a business on the boardwalk, and we used to go to Attila's gym when it was hard fucking core Attila's gym in Wildwood, New Jersey. I mean, all the professional bodybuilders would go there. I mean, this place was awesome. And they wrestle in WWE would come to Wildwood and put a show on at the convention center. And the guys that owned the gym would have to supply the security. So they said, "Do you want to work one night?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. We'll do it." So, but we went there. It was Monday. But we went there Monday afternoon. And it was me, my partner. You may know this guy. He's a worker. Crybaby Waldo, or Big Slam, he called himself.
Definitely. And
my personal friend, Andy Bernowski, who is Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we went in there during the day, that Monday, and got in the ring. And Dick Worley, no bullshit, man, I bullshit you not, was sitting right in the fucking stand. He was sitting there and watching us in the ring, and we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. I never wrestled a day in my life pro. You know, the ring beat the living shit out of us. Okay, I couldn't walk for fucking 2 weeks. I didn't even go to the gym in 2 weeks. That's how banged up we were. And Dick Worley looked at me and said, "See that fucking guy right there? Andy, he's going to be the next Hulk Hogan." No bullshit, man. But Andy was like, he was in the bodybuilding, and he was like, "Man, fuck that shit. It's too fucking crazy." So Waldo, I don't know, he was bitching, I was bitching. And eventually my partner, you know, my boy Anthony was like, "You know what, I'm going to go to school." I said, "Well, I don't have the cash yet, so give me give me a month, you know, and I'll get the money up and I'll check it out, you know." Yep. So he started 30 days before me at the Monster Factory, and then I joined. And honestly, no bullshit, between Larry Sharp and Charlie Fulton and getting to meet Stan Hansen and Terry Funk and learning from them guys and the Wild Samoans, dude, they're my family. I worked Alpha and Sika so many times, brother, thousands of times. I can't even tell you. Especially, and then Sammy and Yokozuna, thousands of times. I can't comprehend how many times. But that's what schooled us, man. You know, that's what definitely got us going. So within 30 days after I joined the school, you know, I find myself in a trailer with Terry Funk and fucking Stan Hansen. And Larry put us in there on purpose. You know, and I'm looking at them and I'm just like, holy shit, you know, these motherfuckers are, you know, they're bringing in 20 G's a week in Japan, you know, at that time, easily. And that's when they had this crazy match outside, man, where they went in the lake and the water. It was like Paradise Alley all over again, but outside. It was fucking crazy. And they told me back in the day, man, this is how they treated young guys back then, because you would have to respect them. You always shook their hands and, you know, introduce yourself. You know, they're like, "Guess what, kid?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, yes, sir." You know, he's like, "We're going to watch your match." You know, I'm like, "Please don't." I mean, we're still green as fuck. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lie to you. He goes, "It doesn't matter." He goes, "You got a good look. You got a good gimmick. Let me see how you work the gimmick. And we're going to watch. So you don't have to ask me to." That's how they were back then. You know, so I went in the back after. He goes, "It was the drizzling shits." And I said, "I know it was." And he's just, you know, he broke down things for me, you know what I'm saying, to help us out. That experience, that 6 hours of hanging out with them two, you know, and then them turn around and say, "Okay, we're up next. You know, now watch this match, and then you tell me what you think." He goes, "Tell a fucking story. It's not all about how this guy could fly and all these high spots. You want to put a person on a roller coaster and tell a story. You don't have to kill yourself. I mean, you start off with an arm drag. God forbid, back in the day, I'm not going to bullshit you guys. If you were on a show and the first match came out and you seen somebody throw a clothesline or even a body slam, that guy's getting his ass ripped out in the back of the locker room. Okay? No bullshit. The object is to build it from match 1 to match 8 or 9, and that's the main event. No blood in the first match. The last match has blood. You understand that? I learned that from fucking Flair and Abdul the Butcher. That TWA show, Abdul was going out, he had 5 blades on his hand. And he was going to cut every single guy in that fucking ring. And Flair and Abby said, "Come here. I don't want you guys out there." And we're like, "Well, they told us to." "Fuck him. Don't worry about it. Here's our fucking Rolexes and our diamonds." They handed us all this. I'm talking had to be $150,000 in jewelry, easily. And just put it right in our hands. And said, "You hold our shit. You don't need to go out there and do this stupid fucking shit." I said, "Okay." And that's how, like I said, that's the trust that we got back then. That's our reputation already got around with the old guys.
You know, you talked about earlier in the interview how you guys started off with ECW when it was still TriState wrestling in its infancy. One of the most famous moments in ECW, and a part of why ECW was the phenomenon it was, you know, it was based off reality. And one of the most real life moments happened when you wrestled Shane Douglas. You know, I know you've talked about it before in interviews in past years, but kind of take us back to, you know, that moment of, you know, that match between you and Shane when that happened, and then how you could take, you know, such a real life moment and then turn it into one of the best angles ECW ever put out.
I appreciate that, man, because that is the truth, and we had unbelievable angles at that. It was a fluke, man. I was doing a run-in. I got DDT'd. So it just something went wrong, and I didn't realize I broke my fucking neck, man. Because I rolled over and I seen white. So I was out, but I was still kind of conscious because I heard it go crack. So, but normally, you know, I never had that kind of an injury before. I never, you know, never jammed my neck, never, you know, did anything like that. So I was taught wiggle your hands and your toes and your fingers just to make sure you can move. So it was fine. So I rolled out of the ring, went in the back, and I had the Wild Samoans. I mean, or the Samoan SWAT team at that time, I mean, they were just cranking on my neck, trying to stretch it out, you know, because we all thought I just jammed my neck. Like, we had no idea that I could have broke it because, I'll be honest with you, I thought if you break your neck, and especially I broke C1, so that's the first, you know, you die, period. That's what I thought. So I broke it on a Saturday night. I didn't know it was broken until Monday. I went to my chiropractor because I was in a lot of fucking pain, man. And he looked at me and said, because I've been seeing, I was going to the same chiropractor, same acupuncturist, you know, for my whole career. So you're talking, you know, 2 decades almost, you know. So they know me. So when he looked at me, he knew something was wrong. So I went there. He told me, my X-ray machine's down, so go to the hospital. Here's the script. So I drove to the hospital, and they gave me a CAT scan. Next thing I know, man, it's like I got like bombarded by nurses and doctors. Like came running in the room and strapping me down, and I was like, I was just like, let me up. I got to take a piss. And they're like, nah, you ain't fucking going nowhere. And I'm like, what do you mean? I go, I fucking drove my car here. And they go, no, you fucking didn't because your neck's broke. And I'm like, here's my valet ticket. My car's out fucking side. And they were looking at me like I was fucking nuts. And they said, your C1 is broke. We don't even know how or why you're even fucking breathing.
Wow.
That's how freaked out they were. So imagine what they made me feel like, because I couldn't see the super specialist until, I mean, he was going to get my x-rays and shit when he first got in that morning, I'm sure, but my meeting wasn't planned until 7 a.m. So I'm laying in bed, and you know I ain't fucking sleeping because I'm in an uncomfortable collar as it is, and I don't know what the fuck my next, you know, I looked at the doc. He came in with 9 other doctors that worked under him, because he wanted to show them, because he even was in shock. He's like, you should not be alive. I'm like, well, when can I get back in the fucking ring? And he just looked at me like, and he's like, well, give me some time. Wait. So eventually he came back and he told me, yeah, you can go back in the ring. He goes, your muscle and traps saved your life. I have no other way of saying it. Your muscle mass that you built up saved your fucking life. Because everything was so tight, man, I could hardly even move, not alone turn my head. So I said, when can I get back in the ring? He's like, I'm looking at 6 months. We're going to put a halo on you. We don't have to do no surgery. We don't have to fuse you. It was a clean break, thank God. Because as soon as it broke, my muscle, like, clench your fist. That's exactly what happened. So that's how it worked, and thank God that saved me. So, you know, of course, Todd Gordon, Paul Heyman, everybody was coming up to visit me, you know. Everybody was freaked out. I mean, that could have been the end of ECW. You know what I mean? Who knows what could have happened, you know? But I was like, look, if I can come back and be 100%, I'm willing to do it. You know, other people, they break their neck and right away they go collect disability and say, give up. I'm not giving up. I said, I actually went to Todd Gordon's office with a halo on, okay? And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Because last time he saw me, I was in the bed. So me walking around with a halo freaked him out even more. And I told him, I said, I'm coming back. The doctor said he knows I can do it. Yeah, I need 6 weeks with this on. I want to do a gimmick and an angle with Shane Douglas for breaking my neck. And I'm telling you right off the bat, they were like, hell fucking no. And I'm like, all right, you know, I obviously you don't think that I can do this. So sit on it for a couple weeks. You know, so I went back, sat, you know, I got back in the gym with my last 2 weeks with my halo on. Okay, if Pat Vienza could do it, I could fucking do it, and I did it. So I was already back in the gym with a fucking halo in my skull the last 2 weeks. I had to go back to the hospital again to re-screw it in because I fucked it up because I was doing that. But I dealt with it because I needed to do it. So once that halo came off, you usually go right to a Miami collar because most people can't hold their head up. Dude, I was already on the fucking neck machine, man. So that day I went right to his office again, and he saw me in a different light, and he realized, let's do this. And that's when Shane freaked out, because Shane was just like he felt bad as it is, because accidents happen, but now he's going to go on national television and make fun of me? Like, come on, let's race, Pitbull. Oh, I forgot. Your neck's broke. You're paralyzed. You can't feel anything in your left arm. You can't swim. You can't run. You can't race. And that's the kind of promos he would do. You know, and it got to people where he was getting death threats. He was getting death threats from Philadelphia. That's how intense we had that. That night, you guys go back and you watch it. When Rick Rude came out with the hood, and he told Shane Douglas to his face in the ring, the sold-out fucking arena, and he said there was one person in the back that wants to get a piece of him. And when he hit my music, that was the biggest pop that building has ever fucking heard. That, and when he threw me down when I had that fucking halo on.
Wow. Nah, you make me want to go back and watch that.
Watch when he threw me down with the halo on. Okay? People jumped the fucking guardrail. He thought he got stabbed that night and shot. He ran out of that building with Francine so fucking fast, he had no other choice. They were going to attack and kill him. They leaped over the guardrail. It's no bullshit, man. It happened.
That's a little payback right there.
Yeah, because people didn't know at the time that you were fully recovered. Isn't that correct?
I wasn't fully recovered yet, but the halo was off.
Okay.
But so you was able to take a bump, a light bump, though.
I was still in. Listen, you put a fucking halo on and tell me it's a bump.
No.
I don't think you can. And I'll bet $1,000 to anybody. Okay, I had to put that fucking contraption back on, and I still had problems with my left arm at the time. You'll notice it because you'll see my left arm's in my pocket. But you try to bump with something like that on.
That's awful.
Right? But I was taught right, so I know how to bump that way.
Right.
So what I wanted to ask you, like, I mean, we know that when you first got into ECW, you know, you guys debuted in a battle royal to determine, you know, ECW champion, and then you kind of went on a singles career, ended up winning the ECW television championship. Had the angle with Mikey Whipwreck, in which Mikey, you know, defeated you for the title, and then your partner kind of came in, and that kind of continued on that feud. But ultimately, you guys won one ECW tag team championship together. And I wanted to know, do you feel that you guys really got your just due in regards to, you know what I mean, titles and things of that nature? Because I understand that, you know, the titles don't make the team. It's the teams that make the titles. But I just feel like with the Dudleys who were there and the Eliminators, and there's a lot of good tag teams that came out of ECW, and you guys being the greater ones, do you feel you get your just due and your respect when it comes to top tag teams of all time?
I do. I think we're in the top 5. When it comes, you got to sit down and watch our matches. Watch how each of us work. Watch how we both enter the ring at the same time during a match and exit the ring at the same time. Look how we look at each other when we tag each other. We know what both of us are thinking before we even think it. I mean, you have to look at that when you look. I don't care what their gimmick is. You know, I don't care how popular they are as far as a tag team. You tell me, how do they work as a tag team? And you will notice we worked the same. We were on the same page. I don't give a shit what anybody has to say. Now, as far as the titles are concerned, we got titles twice, but we didn't need belts. I didn't need a belt to get me over. And that's the honest to God truth. Every single company from South Atlantic, the first job I had with Paul Jones and George Scott were my boss, okay? We had those belts, and every single territory we went to, we were the tag team champions, eventually. And it happened really quick, and that ain't no bullshit. Because we had the promos down, and our work ethic was to the T, okay? Like I said, you got to sit and watch. You just can't pick, oh, that's the best tag team because they're most popular. No. Look how they work as a team, just like an individual. You know what I mean? When I went back to ECW first by myself, I was coming back from a knee surgery. My partner went to Germany. And that's how I ended up doing that gimmick with Mikey Whipwreck. And I did the favor for Mikey. I had that title, and I beat J.T. Smith fair and square and tapped his ass out. They gave me that TV title. I didn't even want that belt. I told Paul right to his face, I don't want it. He looked at me like I was nuts. And I swear to God, I told him, I said, this is after working Morocco, Jimmy Snuka, all the guys, Kevin Sullivan, all the guys that were old-timers that were in ECW, Don Morocco. I mean, this is after working all them guys. You know, he's like, I respect you. You know, you did good. I want to give you this belt. Because I was the biggest motherfucker in that locker room at that time. I mean, I'm not lying. Every week he looked at me like, what the fuck, you know, because I was ready. You know, I was ready. Okay, so all I had to do was get on the phone and call Ty Gordon, and I called Sandman and said, yo, I'm coming back. Can I have a meeting with Paul? And they set the meeting up. And that's how we did it. I mean, as far as belts are like, I'm going to tell you, partly it was my fault. I take a lot of the blame because during ECW, everybody has a phase when they have injuries. You know, everybody has an injury fucking couple months or a few years where, you know, this happened, that happened, this happened. That was kind of at that time, I was in North Carolina for 4 or 5 years going overseas to Germany, wrestling Eddie, which is Brutus the Barber Beefcake and Jimmy Snuka. We were tagging against them in Germany, okay, after Brutus had that bad accident. That's how much he trusted us, that we wouldn't hurt him and hit him in the face and he could die. You know, he almost died. He had to get his whole face reconstructed, okay? So by going there, working with them and learning, the titles, like I say, we could have had the titles and we would have held the titles in ECW for a long motherfucking time, man. I'm not going to lie to you. But I blew my tricep once. You know, the next night he's giving us the belt. I blew it Friday night, and Saturday night I'm getting the tag belts. And of course, I got to get surgery. I'm not going to fuck around. I still want to continue and be normal. So I said I'll drop them to whoever, and I'm going to get my tricep fixed. And as soon as my tricep was fixed, I came back and got them again. And then I blew a bicep. You see what I'm saying? Shit happened. And that happened in the gym. That didn't even happen in the ring. It just popped when I was working out. You know, we were training hard. So, you know, I had dropped the strap again. You know, but the Pitbulls did not need belts to solidify who we are. People looked at us and said, they're bad motherfuckers.
Right.
They don't need belts to prove that.
That was your badge of honor. I want to ask you about the tag teams today. Which team or teams do you see the Pitbulls in the most?
As far as, I don't know about difference. I mean, I can tell you tag teams with difference, but I think Cesaro and Sheamus, their new gimmick is fucking awesome. They're a great tag team. I like that gimmick.
You don't know how happy you just made Luis by saying that.
Yeah.
He's been...
I held that in. I love them. I hated them, but I love them.
You're talking new school tag teams. I gotta say, I like the Olympic wrestler, and they brought back what the hell is his name?
Shelton Benjamin.
Yes.
Yeah, Shelton's good.
Yeah, Shelton's a hell of a fucking
freaking amazing.
He's a shooter, man. Okay, period. Okay, he can work and he'll fucking ride you to your purple, man, if he wanted to. You couldn't do nothing about it. But that's how both them guys are. So. You know what I mean? So I think that as a young tag team, I think, they're pretty damn, they got a future. If, it depends on what Vince and Triple H and them want to do with them. You know what I mean? Like I just saw a couple of nights ago, finally a tag team. Like I used to like the Vol Villains. I thought was a great tag team. The way they use old shit, you know what I mean? Because nobody uses old shit no more.
You are earning super points with Luis, man. Like we literally just did an episode.
Guy, man. We need to go hang out, play some WWE 2K.
I hear you, brother. But then, like I said, they had this new tag team. They were with Wade Bryant.
Oh yeah, I forget what they're gonna call him now, but it's honestly it looks like kind of like
War Machine, right?
Yeah, they really do.
War Machine's a good tag team, guys. I don't know if you know them from Ring of Honor. I saw them in New Japan. They're a good fucking tag team.
So
man.
The thing about War Machine, sorry to cut you off. The thing about War Machine, it's funny because like I'm originally from Lynn, Massachusetts, which is the hometown of Warbeard Hansen. And so like I've been following them since it was like with chaotic wrestling, and just moving forward. So it's interesting, and I really got hooked onto them with New Japan, and then started watching their Ring of Honor stuff.
Yeah, because I never really saw them, and then when I saw them in New Japan, but I see it's not like I said, it's not the gimmick, it's not what they look like, it's how they work as a team. And the bigger guy supports the smaller guy. Like my partner would pick me up and press slam me and I'd come down with elbows on guys. But that's how you work together, and that's an example, man, that the new tag team, and I'm not saying they're real young, but I like how they work, put it that way.
Now, you guys had some memorable arm candy throughout the years.
Yep.
As managers, speaking of Francine being one, like everyone who watched the ECW loved Francine. Tell me about that dynamic. How does that work when you guys have a tag team and then they want to throw a manager with you guys? And I know there's a chemistry, and I'm not sure if you guys went up and down the roads together, but tell us about that. You guys had, I know you had Terry Reynolds for a little bit as a manager, and then you guys had
Missy Hyatt.
Yep, and then you guys had Stevie Richards.
Let me just say, I don't want to interrupt you, but all the bitches love the Pitbulls, brother.
Ric Flair-esque. You picked up a few of Ric Flair's.
Fact, brother. Tommy Rocker will say it from the fucking ground to the sky, man, in New Zealand. He came down the hall and screaming at the top of his lungs, "You motherfucking Pitbulls. Fucking everybody around the world. What the fuck?"
Pitbull's just tearing through everything.
So we got little Pitbulls.
You got a $900 fucking phone bill.
We got little Pitbulls in New Zealand, probably. You got
yeah, right.
Pitbulls worldwide.
I'm not saying nothing, brother, but nobody's contacted me yet. But I do see a lot of young wrestlers coming up today that look like me. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man, so like I said, just tell us about the dynamic, with the manager being added to you guys. Like, how does that go? Especially a female, because it's there's always going to be rumors like, oh, one of them have to be banging or something of that nature. Just tell us about the dynamic and the difference between having a female manager and a male manager.
It's different because you got to remember the girl gets a lot of sympathy, so it helps. And adding her into the match, just like me, I had Jason Knight as my manager for a while, and he managed the Pitbulls as well. That was just a different side, a different, you get different heat using, female. We kind of liked the female, man, and it was kind of our gimmick. We were like S&M, and the bitches knew once they had to be with us, they knew they were. It's gonna be a wild fucking ride, man. And it was. I mean, Missy Hyde was in California with us, managing us when we were working for XPW when they brought us in there. And we owned that joint. I mean, come on, man. But it's a good dynamic because you got to remember we were the first tag team ever to put a woman through a table.
Yes.
Okay, and Francine was that girl. Okay, and I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I'll go on a limb and tell you that night she was crying her fucking eyes out because she was fucking terrified. Everybody was scared of the super bomb, you know, especially going through a fucking table on it. And she's a girl, you know, so it was like, you know, you're going to turn on us. I mean, this is what's going to happen to you. And this is what's going to make you hardcore fucking icon that you were in ECW. I mean, after she did that, the whole place chanted, you know, she's hardcore. You know, they knew it, you know, but like I said, we were the first team ever to put a girl through.
Yeah, I remember the build for that. Like, and I kind of feel like WWE, for a point in time, stole that angle and used it with the Dudleys.
Yeah, they absolutely did. I remember, like one more thing about Francine. She's a great person, and she did a great job with us. And I always loved her because she just started in the business then. And to this day, I'm friends with her, and she's a good person. And like I said, she was a nobody, and we helped her become who she is. And I had no problem doing that.
Now, you mentioned her going through the table. She was crying. Was the crying afterwards or before? Was she nervous about it, or was she in pain afterwards?
She was nervous before. She was laughing afterwards.
Oh, good to hear. Yeah, she was definitely one of my favorites. I respected her work.
Now, about the Super Bomb as far as the Dudleys, okay? We were working for Vince. Cornette came up to us and said, you can't use the front of your finish. I'm like, what do you mean I can't use my finish? They didn't want us to show the WWE Universe that the Pitbulls, this is our finish. Nobody's doing a sicker finish than that at that time, okay? And they told us not to use it. So what happens is, you know, Paul Heyman, you know, sells the company to Vince. He owes people money. He's got to keep friends with some people. He brings the Dudleys with him. He don't bring me and Anthony. Me and Anthony had a little personal problem we had to take care of, and it was bad business, I guess Paul thought, and he took the Dudleys. And they used our finish, and that's how they got over. Okay, and I'm not saying they're a bad tag team by far. You got to remember, too, they're not the original Dudleys. You know how many Dudleys went through the ECW before they became the Dudleys?
It's like
So
a fraternity,
many.
man. You got Big Dick Dudley.
Yeah.
Like.
Dances with Dudley.
Do you know who came up with that gimmick, the Dudleys? Do you guys have any idea?
No clue. Dreamer?
No, not Dreamer.
No, I give up. Who?
Raven.
Oh, Raven.
I think I did know that.
We were sitting down in the locker room one night, and we're trying to think, what are we going to do? You know, we got these guys coming in. What can we, you know, there's three of them, you know, and somebody said it. I don't know who it was. Might have been me. I don't remember, but I remember somebody said slap shot. And Raven turned around and said, I fucking got it. I got it. Instead of the Hanson brothers, we'll call them the Dudleys from Dudleyville. And you put fucking the glasses on with the fucking aluminum foil and shit like that. And we
The
hooked
fork
up.
on the side.
Wow, that's pretty genius if you think about it. Very
And
genius.
that's how it happened. I'm not going to bullshit you. Raven came up with the fucking idea. Raven was a genius, man. People don't know this. You can see Raven out at nightclubs and bars because we'd always go out to strip joints and bars and hang out, have a good time, have some drinks and relax. And Raven's always waiting on a napkin. And what he's writing on that napkin is everything that he's thinking in his mind right now as far as angles and gimmicks. And that's how he came up with that character, Raven.
Yeah, I remember
You know,
Johnny
he-
Polo, and it was just like, and then to see him as Raven, it was just like, I honestly, I compare it to like the transformation of how Sting went from Surfer Sting to the Crow Sting, because it's just like night and day, and he got over so quickly and so well.
Dude, it's funny you say that because I'm not to say no fucking bullshit. When I broke my neck and I was coming back, I was going to come back as the Crow. I was going to do that gimmick, Bruce Lee's son's gimmick. And fucking Sting grabbed it right before me. He didn't know I was going to use it. I had no idea he was going to use it. I was just thinking about it, and it made sense because Raven was already there. So it's like Raven brought back the dead, and that was going to be my gimmick when I came back, and Sting grabbed it.
Just like I could just
And
imagine.
I can't compete against WCW.
No way.
That
you know
was
what
a
I'm
machine
saying?
back
So-
then.
Yeah, it was white
But
hot
it-
back then.
You think it was just
Yeah.
coincidence?
It was fucking straight out coincidence, brother. I swear.
And does Sting know
Straight
that?
out.
Does Sting know that?
No, he probably doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I never really told many people.
We'll try to get to him one
so,
day.
So one thing.
It's cool, but it was just something that I was thinking about, and at that time, The Crow was real hot, that movie, and I remember watching it. And I was just sitting home with a halo bolted in my fucking skull for 6 weeks. So you have nothing to do but think.
Come up with gimmicks.
And I was just trying to think of of something to come back that would, stir up the pot. And like I said, I already had a Raven there. You know what I mean? So to me, it would have worked out perfect. But it was a coincidence, and it happened. But it's funny how coincidence happened that way. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'll give you. Here's an idea I had. I was going to use as a gimmick before I even came up with the gimmick Pitbulls. I was going to call myself Luscious Larry Lips.
Interesting.
With big lips on my ass.
Mr. Ass? Mr. Ass?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, not Mr. My gimmick was I was going to shoot the guy in, hit him with my ass right in his face,
Oh, there you
knock
go.
him out 1, 2, 3.
Nice little
and
kiss.
Be the Flamer Adrian Adonis gimmick. Something
Oh
just
my
like
goodness. Yeah, I remember Adrian Adonis.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I can't imagine with the style that you guys ended up having as the Pitbulls, you having a gimmick similar to Adrian Adonis.
I could do it, man. People don't get it, man. People just don't realize when you know how to work, you can become any character you want.
My mind is on the Crow thing because if you would have gotten to that first, even if it was by minutes, and obviously it's tough to compete against the machine of WCW, you could have changed the course of history, of wrestling history. If you had gotten to the Crow first, what do you think would have happened?
I can't agree with that, man. Sting was already over before he even became the
big
Crow.
time. But I mean in terms of
And
the gimmick.
And
Yeah.
you got Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. I mean, I don't think it would have changed anything. I would have just lucked out and got it before him.
Yeah.
But I think everything else would have followed in its place, and Sting would still be where he is today. I mean, Sting, honestly, at one time, Sting was the Hulk Hogan of WCW.
Oh, yeah.
Big time, 100%.
Well, we all know that WCW back then was still in anything that came out of ECW anyway. So even if you did come out with it, there's a good chance WCW would have ended up stealing it.
Yeah. Now, just imagine that. Now I'm trying to imagine the Crow. Would you have came out the full face paint? Like I could see you with the long trench, and you had the hair to go with it. I could just imagine the white zombie playing, and you're just coming out. Would you have changed your theme music to go with it?
Mine wasn't as his was more clean, white with black. Mine was going to be like a zombie, evil, a horror. I was going to go the other way. I was going to go to the dark side and make it look real dark, because I already had the hair just like Bruce Lee's kid, and I was going to be more darker, to be honest with you.
All right. But you would have kept the same theme music. I'm just trying to imagine you come into the ring.
Oh yeah, I would have kept the same music. It was I was just going to have my eyes would have probably been more black, and not as nice. Like his paint was really nice. Mine was going to be more like, like if you watch some New Japan stuff now, like Tonga Kid's kid.
Oh yeah, the bad boy.
You know what I'm saying? It would have been more like if you watched Bray Wyatt when he did the gimmick with Abigail. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It would have looked kind of like that. That's where I was going with it.
Now it's funny that you mentioned, the bad boy himself, Tama Tonga. With the industry now, of course, WWE just being, I guess you could say, a monopoly as far as majors go. But as far as the indie scene, it seems like a lot of guys are leaving WWE, and the independent scene is extremely healthy. Do you care to speak on the indie scene right now and just let us know what your thoughts on it and the compare and contrast, like the benefits from being indie and the other way around?
All right. Well, if you work for Vince, he owns your ass. Okay, and you're going to get maybe 1 day a week off. You're going to fly home. That'll be a half a day. You'll have your day off, and then you're out the next day. And I'm pretty sure it's the same way. I heard back then, they treated us like horses. They'd ride us until we broke our leg and then put us aside and push the next person. And that's exactly how it is. But nowadays, These guys are fucking coddled, okay? We didn't have no fucking doctor in the back or a PT or a fucking seamstress. They had one girl that cut Hulk Hogan shirts. That was it. Nobody made gimmicks for us. We had to go buy our own gimmicks, buy our own boots, put our own makeup on. You name it, we had to do it. The only thing they gave us was lunch and dinner. I mean, they didn't fucking do nothing. These guys are coddled, man. They got personal trainers. They got doctors in the back. Dude, if I told you the shit I seen in the 80s behind that locker room, they couldn't show it on fucking television.
You just touched on something that's extremely interesting. A lot of former wrestlers, when you talk to them now, compare today's product to the product that they lived in. And a lot of current fans could say that there might be some type of resentment towards the new product. But you mentioned something that, when you, back in your day, the veterans, the Hulk Hogans, the Ric Flairs, the Magnum TAs of the world weren't afraid to pull you guys aside. Who are some of the guys that you guys pulled aside that we may know now that eventually became stars?
I'll give you an example. Matt Striker. Okay, Matt Striker was working for me and Todd Gordon for Pro Wrestling Unplugged. Kid's a great talent, school teacher, good head on his shoulders, very respectful, listens to everything you say. We were trying to figure out, man, he's so talented, but we got to come up with a gimmick. And they're using that same fucking gimmick today with Dolph Ziggler, okay? We did that with Matt Striker. He would come out every night as a different wrestler to their music, dressed up, not perfect like the Road Warrior, Mike, who's a great friend of mine, but, a half-ass looking job, and people would kind of boo him and stuff. And guess what happened? Vince McMahon grabbed him just like that and gave him a job. And now my boy Matt's working for Lucha Underground as a commentator with Vampiro, and he's doing great. And shout out to Matt. He's a good guy. That's just one.
Matt Striker, one of my favorite commentators in the history of pro wrestling, one of the best to ever do it and still be doing it. Now, one of the things that a lot of people appreciated about ECW back in the day was how much the wrestlers seem invested in the product. And we all know that a lot of you guys, besides being wrestlers, behind the scenes took on a lot of different roles. What were some of the roles that you played? I know guys like Raven played Booker, and you mentioned he came up with the Dudley Boys idea, and he came up with a lot of other gimmicks. I know Tommy Dreamer did a lot with the merchandising and come up with some of the designs that ended up on some of the T-shirts. What were some of the roles that you played, but behind the scenes back in the day?
Well, honestly, first off, any new tag team that came to the ECW had to go through us the first night. And they got their head laid out, and that's what happened, period.
They got a real-life education.
No, we're saying to them, welcome to ECW, motherfucker, because this is how it's going to be for the time that you're here.
Were you a little extra stiff during those matches?
Absolutely.
Nice.
No denying it.
Yeah, absolutely. But then once you're on the road with the guys, you take care of them, of course. But the Pitbulls, we kind of, like I said, we were Paul's little, if he wanted us to take care of something, we took care of it. But before every show, Todd Gordon, Paul Heyman, Tommy Dreamer, Taz, Pitbulls, a bunch of us, we would sit down and we would have an open house. Anybody that is a worker that's been working a while, because you got to remember, back in them days, Vince McMahon wouldn't even look at you until you had 7 years, at least 7 years under your belt, okay? So we opened the door for a lot of independent guys that have been working for maybe 4 or 5 years, and we said, the ring is yours. Show us what you can do, okay? So we would just sit there quietly, not even talk to each other, and just watch. And we would take our notes. And then when it was done, we would go in the back, and we would say, hey, this guy looks pretty fucking good, or this guy's a no-go, and this girl's not bad, but, this one's not. We could do this with this person. We have an idea. What do you think? So that's how we kind of did it, But we tried to keep the peace. That was because, ECW really came out of Philadelphia. We were like the Philly clique, and then they had a New York clique. You know, that's pretty much how the locker room was. But we were all civil with each other. But, like, if it came down to, like, there was a problem in the locker room, we would be the first tag team, the first two guys to jump up and stop it from happening.
So you guys kind of played the role of the enforcers.
Well, I mean, we were friends with everybody. We just tried to say, you know, let's everybody get along and let's everybody get home. Let's get home safely to our families and, you know what I mean, and make a living. That's how we were thinking.
So as we're nearing the end here, I can't let you go without some kind of Paul Heyman story, some kind of memory you have in your head that you'll never forget, something funny, something scary. Tell me a story about Paul Heyman.
Yeah, I'll tell you one quick one, and then I'll give you another one. The first one is he always came to the arena and sat at the table and didn't know what the fuck he was going to do that night.
I love it.
That'd be me. I would walk up to the table and be like, all right, what are we doing? I don't know. Come back in 5 minutes. And I did that like 8-9 times, man, in one night. Okay? That's one thing. Another thing was when he was going to give me the television championship. He called me up and said, come to New York. So I drove to New York, and that's where the production company was. So we were filming, and I had to cut a promo with J.T. Smith. And Paul never really saw me cut a promo before. Like, this is my first push. Paul had never pushed me yet. This is when I was there by myself. He goes, I want you to cut a promo and then, you know, do something to JT. Don't tell me. I don't want to know what you're doing, but just do something to him, and then we're going to cut, and I'll tell you when to cut. Just wait for me to put my hand down. Keep going until I tell you to stop. So I cut this fucking promo, dude. I went off like a motherfucker. Shoot. I open hand JT Smith across his fucking face while he had crutches, dropped him, looked at the camera and said, do you know who I am? I'm the Pitbull. Numero uno. Number one, baby. Nobody can stop me. Right there, Paul dropped his hands, screamed, and ran out the fucking door laughing. Because I said numero uno, not numero uno like you're supposed to. I totally fucked it up, but it was so fucking good, he still aired it on television, brother. I met him outside, and he goes, man, you're getting a TV strap. And I looked at him and said, nah, I don't want it.
Oh, no way.
He goes, are you fucking nuts? I said, no, I want you to bring my partner in. He's in Germany right now. I said, when he gets back, I want you to bring him in because I'm a tag team. And he goes, well, look, just take the belt for now because I want to try to push this kid, and then I'll put you in an angle with Taz, which I beat him 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, which not many people can say. Mm-hmm. And then when your partner comes in, you guys will be the team. I said, okay, no problem. And that's what I did.
Wow. That's cool. That's cool. Paul definitely sounds like he had a lot of fun doing this, running ECW. I think maybe he enjoyed not knowing what was going to happen when he woke up. And that's what made ECW great. And when you know that, you can see that in the product because he let you guys be you. He let you take the mic and scream numero uno, you know?
Yeah, see, it's so different. Like nowadays, I'm not going to bullshit you, man. Everything's fucking scripted, I think, man. Yeah. It's like he would say, look, these are the points I want you to hit in your promo. Just like he was back in the NWA, back when WWF, back in the 80s. I mean, we didn't have no they would just say, look, hit these points, use your skill and your talent, and do the rest. Okay? I can't babysit you through this whole fucking thing. You know, that's how they were back then. These are old guys. You know, they don't fuck around. This is what you do for a living. Show me. If you can't do it, I'll give you an example. I worked for Paul Jones and George Scott. My first job, we got hired. We were working in Charlotte. We were wrestling 6 nights a week. They told us we're going to be baby faces, okay? We couldn't cut a fucking baby face promo if you could pay us back then. We sucked, okay? It was horrible. We were dead fucking bad guys, man. We just couldn't help it. And I remember the Nasty Boys were there, and they were heels. And they were just starting, and he's like, that was after Portland, I think. I'm not sure, but they were still green. And I begged him every fucking weekend, man, can you let us cut just one heel promo, please? And George Scott and Paul Jones be like, no, you're our baby faces. You're the guys we're pushing. We want people to like you. You got to make us money. So I was like, all right. So one night, we just got done work, and we were cutting promos, and Robert Ford came in, and Steamboat came in. They were just sitting down, and even the Nasties were there. And I said, listen, can we cut one promo, Paul, please? Just one. Paul Jones, I said, and George Scott. I said, come on, George, please. Let us cut one. It's not going to take that much tape. Give us a minute and 30 seconds. He goes, all right. I'm tired of hearing you fucking bitch. I'm going to let you do it. Okay? If I don't like it, I don't want to hear another thing about it. I said, okay, no problem. We cut that minute 30-second promo, and I'm not bullshitting you. Paul Jones, George Scott, Robert Fuller, and Ricky Steamboat's jaw was on the fucking ground. I'm not bullshitting you. If we had cell phones and cameras back then, I'd be a fucking Hall of Famer, motherfucker. I couldn't walk down the street. Okay? No bullshit.
If
nobody can do what we did. You have no idea, man.
You know, the things that you guys put your bodies through back then to put on phenomenal matches, to put out a great product. You know, those are the things that we as fans always appreciate. And I we said this earlier. You know, in your great career, all the great matches that you put on. All the tag team title matches. I know you mentioned your matches with the Eliminators and all the other teams that ran through ECW, Public Enemy. What was your favorite tag team to work with?
Ooh, that's tough. Funk Brothers, Guerreros. I mean, they're all up there. But I got to go with the number one match in 1995, and that was, and I was hurt that night. I tore my tricep Friday night. Saturday night, 2 out of 3 falls at the arena, Raven and Stevie Richards versus the Pitbulls. 1995, the best recorded match by far. The only match that was better than that match, in my opinion, was Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels ladder match.
Wow.
Okay, we were numbered fucking 2. I just got done doing a shoot promo with Mike Johnson and them, and they're telling me it's number 1. But that's what they're saying. I mean, that night I had a blown tricep, and we still had a fucking phenomenal match.
You're talking about the night that you guys, I believe you guys went over and took the titles. That's correct, right?
We took the titles. We super bombed every single fucking Dudley you could think of. Then we super duper bombed Raven with Stevie Richards on top of him.
I remember that.
That one match had like 6 different angles with Fonzie, Todd Gordon, 911, the Dudleys, Tommy Dreamer, Raven. That whole match lasted over an hour, and if you watch that match, because it's a fucking awesome match, you'll never sit back, because every second there's a different thing happening. Okay? I don't know how we fucking made it through that night. As I sit there and watch it, and I don't know how I remembered that everything that was going to happen happened. I mean, it just fell into place perfectly.
Now, whose idea was it to have all that, have all those run-ins happen in one match?
That's Paul Heyman's genius, brother.
Absolute genius.
Now, Pitbull number 1, here on the Unsanctioned Podcast, we like to play bookers every now and then. And, of course, if we give you the booking power, we want to know what would be your ultimate match that you would put together. Who would be on it? Any match stipulations? Give us the rundown.
A match that I'm in or just booking it?
However you want to, but you can be in it. You can special reference. The power's in your hands. Everything. Just lay it out for us.
I'll tell you one that happened first. Us against the British Bulldogs in New Zealand in front of 55,000. We went in as the American Pitbulls versus the British Bulldogs.
Wow.
First night was a complete shoot. Okay? I didn't know these guys from Adam, and all I know is Larry Sharp came back in the room, and he was supposed to have a finish, and he had no fucking finish. He said, good luck. And that lasted 45 minutes. And we just beat the shit out of each other because they were pissed, and rightfully so. They thought we were trying to steal their gimmick. And Dynamite Kid is one of the best. They're all my respect. Okay, that next day I woke up and I walked in the room thinking it was Larry Sharp's room, her room, and I thought I was going to get my ass beat. I was young. And they just popped open and they were already drinking, man. And they just handed us a drink and said, "You got our respect. What the old guys told us about you guys is completely correct. We're going to have a nice 2 weeks here." And that was an awesome fucking match. But my dream match, if I was booking today, I would throw in, which you guys probably have seen, Dynamite Kid versus Tiger Mask.
Wow.
I think new guys that are around today, I would throw in Prince Puma versus Tiger Mask. I think that'd be incredible. I mean, we had great matches with Hossein Sasaki. You know, I used to wrestle Suzuki all the time. Honda. I mean, these are silver medalists. You know, you got to figure Fuji and Saito. I wrestled them. You know, I was in Japan wrestling Master Saito. He's a silver medalist. Honda's another silver medalist. I wrestled a 10-year Marine champion in fucking Japan, and they thought they were going to fucking kick my ass. Guess what? It didn't happen. I didn't beat him, and he didn't beat me. It was a fucking stone draw, and that motherfucker is a 10-year Marine champ, and he still didn't beat me. He went right after my neck. No bullshit. I don't have no problem with him. All the props to him, man. I busted his ankle up big time. I guillotined that motherfucker. All you heard was, and it was his tape. And that whole fucking tour, man, that motherfucker was getting that tape wrapped. No bullshit, man.
Oh, man.
But I'd like to see like maybe Bray Wyatt, fucking awesome worker, you know, Prince Puma.
Yep, Ricochet.
Again,
yep.
You know, get some older guys. Like, you got to remember, man, people don't, like, watch. If you new guys are out there, you young guys, okay, you're a little green still, you're still working indies, get a tape of Tiger Mask, of Dynamite Kid, you know, Owen Hart. You know what I'm saying? Look at this. Study Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero at the arena. I mean, you're talking an hour technical match, man. This is what made the Pitbulls different than everybody else. We were able to adapt from the Wild Samoans, the Headhunters, to the fucking Bruise Brothers, back to fucking Public Enemy, to the fucking Perry and Cronus Eliminators. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We adapted to everybody's style, like the Guerreros. We were the first tag team to wrestle Rey Mysterio Jr. and, what was his name? Juventud. Okay? Yeah. When they first came to ECW, we were the first American tag team they ever wrestled. And that happened in New York in ECW. I remember that night. Paul Heyman pulled me aside and said, "Yo, you're going to wrestle Conan." Brought these guys in from Mexico. And I look over, and I'm like, "What guys?" And he goes, "Those two right there." I said, "They're fucking 12 years old."
Oh, man.
He goes, "No, don't worry about it. They're going to put a mask on. They don't look young with a mask."
You'll see.
And next thing you know, fucking Ray was a great friend, man. Ray's fucking, he's my brother, man. Like Rob Van Dam and Sabu, man. We all have our cliques that we hung out with. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Did everyone kind of go their own ways now?
Yeah. You know, nowadays, you know, you got to remember, a lot of us are gone. A lot of us passed away.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I still talk to Scorpio. I just talked to Two Cold a couple of days ago. I'm going to England with him.
He's one guy we are trying to get a hold of.
100% one of the most underrated athletes ever to step foot in the squared circle, Two Cold Scorpio.
Exactly.
You are 100% correct. My first tour to Japan, okay, it was me, my partner, and Bam Bam Bigelow in the back, okay? Squirt was up front in the cab. Squirt wasn't even staying with us. Scorpio was in a fucking dojo in Japan, okay? Now that is, I don't know if you've ever been to a dojo in Japan.
Nope.
But that ain't no fucking picnic, boys.
I've heard. No joke.
Okay? All right? It's no bullshit, okay? Now, Squirt started that way because Vader helped him get in. But he still was an unfucking believable talent. The last time I went to Japan was in 2001, and I tug up with Too Cold. I tug up with him and Vader for Noah. Okay, that was the last time I went. Okay, so I've hung up with him many times. Me and him had phenomenal matches against Japanese guys.
Oh, man.
Unbelievable worker.
Yeah.
And he can still work that good today.
I've seen him recently, and he looks like if he stepped foot in the ring today, you know, he's still putting on a 5-star match.
Exactly. As long as they don't call him Flash Funk. We want too close.
Never call him Flash Funk.
No.
And he lived that gimmick too, bro.
Wow,
man, he
wow,
loves it.
wow, wow.
It's funny, I'm gonna bring this to your attention and anybody else that's listening. Guys like Scorpio, guys like me, you know, why are we not at the Performance Center right now training guys?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely
Tell me
agree.
why that is not happening. Why am I not an agent? Okay?
Have you tried to
I've
get
been
in touch?
on the road. Okay? I know what's wrong, what's not wrong. I know what's right, what's not right. I'm not stupid. I know how to go through a match. I know how much time you have to have. I mean, it's a business.
Yeah.
You understand? Why is it that he's got to give them applications and they don't even acknowledge it? You know, why is it that I don't get a call? I mean, I opened up a training school. It was called the Animal House. I brought the Circle of Pain to the wrestling school business, which is if you're not in shape, you don't get in a fucking ring. And that's how my ethics were.
Well, Gary Wolfe, everybody, a.k.a. Pitbull 1.
You got to let people know where they can find you. I
Wanna
mean,
be
we
mindful
know you
of
got the
timing.
Facebook. We know you got Facebook.
Let them know. Tell everyone how we can stay in the loop with what you're doing.
You can check me out on Facebook. It's Gary Wolfe. I have a photo of me wearing a strap, and you can't confuse me with anybody else. Zoe at the end, of
It's
course.
the Jack guy. It's the jacked guy with the
Also
photo.
have a page. It's ECW Original Pitbull #1 Gary Wolfe. You can always go through that. But check it out. Like I said, you got the doctor, the booking agency, the good doctor. That's Dylan, who's actually, you know, one of the Fantastic's son, Bobby Fulton's son. Good kid. You get in touch with him. You can get me booked through that way. I'm very interested in doing seminars in schools. I love teaching, man. I'm not going to lie to you guys. And I'm not a jerk off. I mean, I could be hard on you if you let me.
Yeah.
But if you really try 110%, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
You know, I just don't like hearing ideas of kids up working at the you know, the NXT Performance Center putting helmets on guys when they're taking bumps now. Are you fucking kidding me? Dude, you should have seen the shit I had to go through at the Monster Factory just to get a little bit of respect.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Man,
Times have changed.
I know it's we've heard it's been a softer generation, and of course with a lot of the CTS stuff and CTE. But once again, Mr. Wall, we want to thank you. I mean, you didn't have to give us your time, and you know we very much appreciate it.
A lot of fun. Thank you.
So many great stories. Thank you for giving us your insight to, you know, what it was back in the day in the original ECW.
And you got to keep us in the loop on this 2018 ECW Originals and New Reunion Tour. And once again, we just want to give acknowledgement to Dylan and the whole Good Doctor Booking Agency as well. I enjoyed
Thank you. I
it.
really appreciate it. I had a blast
The
talking to you
stories that
guys,
we
and
just heard.
we'll do
Yeah,
it
you know,
again.
Ric
The
Flair.
insight that we just heard.
Ric Flair leaving the club in the middle of the night, just coming back and you know what I mean, in
In
the
his robe.
$50,000 robe, popping bottles.
Butt naked underneath.
And you know, we all know Real Flair is one of the guys who really lived what he was saying and
Big time.
really was about it.
Ric Flair
But
was Ric Flair. I
To
respect
hear it from a guy who was young and green back then, who was just sitting
Started off
back and
18.
watching.
He was
Crazy.
18. starting off.
Crazy to think. Crazy to think that he was offered a deal from Vince McMahon and turned it down.
Flying down in a helicopter to beat the Hart Foundation at WrestleMania.
For the belts.
Crazy.
For the belts.
Crazy.
Which are going to be
Look,
dropped, according to him.
Hey,
Sue
and I'm
them.
going to look at Vince and say, hey, no. Crazy to think somebody did that back in the day.
But just imagine, like, what are the odds that he would have headlined? Well, not headline, but they would have been a part of the two major franchises at that time's biggest show. You
Right.
have WrestleMania. They would have supposedly gone against the Hearts, and they would have went over. And then they would have been at Starrcade, which was WCW's big one in December. And they would have went over for the tag belts over the Steiners on top of that.
Let me tell you something. Pitbulls versus the Steiners is a match I would have absolutely loved
Pure
to have
mayhem.
seen.
Pure mayhem.
Love to have seen.
Yeah.
Pure mayhem.
Love to have.
That
It's
would've
like a
been
mirror,
amazing.
but they're kind of like mirror images in a weird
You know
way.
what? Scott Steiner, the Pitbulls, to me, their style reminded me a lot of Scott Steiner, especially his in-ring style. Rick Steiner's amazing too, but Scott Steiner, especially the fact that he could do a lot of different things and add the power into it, and that's exactly what the Pitbulls were like.
I found it very interesting about all the stuff he was saying about the Dudleys and WWE and putting a female through a table and how they were the first ones.
But that was their finisher, you know what I mean?
That
The
was
Super Bomb.
Exactly. So I really wanted his 2 cents on that.
Was
and we got
stolen
it.
by teams even of today. If you look at the Shield, that power bomb is a variation of that
Yeah,
Super Bomb.
it's definitely a variation, but I mean, it just shows you how, you know what I'm saying, it's how innovative they are and were. You know what I mean? And the reason why we say are, because, you know, Gary's still going today. You know what I mean? So, just because, you know what I mean, R.I.P. to, you know, Pitbull number 2. You know what I mean? But he's carrying that tradition of that team, so.
Well, thank you. Appreciate everyone tuning in to the Unsanctioned Podcast. I'm Luis Vasquez.
Thank you.
You can find me on Twitter at Luis Vasquez 617.
Jay Holland, man, you can find me across the board, J.O. City, J-A-Y-O-C-I-T-Y. If it's on Facebook, at that 781 at the end.
And I'm Julio Jeune. You can find me at, just kidding.
Hold on. You have to go to your nearest pet store and what we use the
Cue up the eagle. There's
yeah,
no
we
way-
use the eagle
I think he's
this time.
graduated.
Yeah, we use the eagle seems to get him on time, but
Yeah,
the eagle's
I like the
kind of
eagle.
expensive, so we ain't got a budget for that. So if you got an owl who sees him from miles away,
said an owl.
just give us a hoot. Don't pollute. You already know, man. This is the Unsanctioned Podcast. We are now signing off your airwaves, man.
Peace. Adios.
Money over here, money over here, yeah. Talk, gotta bring the city back. Let them know we still here, never gonna stop. Keep rolling like a wheelchair, can't be shook. You know the wolf smell fear, throw him in the trunk, turn your man to a straight stare. No tire, just money so fire. Can't stack